This is a summary of chapters 19, 20, and 21, and we're going to jump right into Tom Robinson's part of the trial, all right? So we're going to go ahead and go straight to the book. All right, so once again, read the pink, follow along with the blue. Tom was 25 years of age. He was married with 3 children. He had been in trouble with the law before. He once received 30 days for disorderly conduct. Remember, this is Tom Robinson on the stand with Atticus questioning, okay? It must have been disorderly, said Atticus. What did it consist of? Got in a fight with another man. He tried to cut me. Did he succeed? Yes, sir. A little. Not enough to hurt. You see, Tom moved his left shoulder. Yes, said Atticus. You were both convicted. Yes, sir, I had to serve because I didn't pay the fine. Other fellow paid his. Dill leaned across me and asked Jem what Atticus was doing. Jem said Atticus was showing the jury that Tom had nothing to hide. So this is important, you guys. You would find it kind of odd that, wow, why would Atticus bring up the fact that Tom Robinson went to jail? It's because, yeah, it does make it clear to the jury and the people that, hey, this is what his past looks like, that way to kind of build trust. We're going to move on. This is where Atticus begins asking Tom what happened. Did you ever go on the place again? This is Mayella and Mr. Yule's home. Yes, sir. When? Well, I went lots of times. Judge Taylor instinctively reached for his gavel but left his hand fall. The murmur below us died without his help. Under what circumstances? Please, sir? Why did you go inside the fence lots of times? Tom Robinson's forehead relaxed. She'd call me in, sir. So it seemed like every time I passed by yonder, she'd have some little something for me to do. Chopping, kindling, toting water for her. She watered them red flowers every day. Were you paid for your services? No, sir. Not after she offered me a nickel the first time. I was glad to do it. Mr. Yule didn't seem to help her none, and neither did the children. And I knowed she didn't have no nickels to spare. Where were the other children? They was always around all over the place. They'd watch me work. Some of them sat in the window. Would Miss Mayella talk to you? Yes, sir, she talked to me. So please read. There's a question about what kind of life Mayella lives. Let's move on. Mr. Finch, he said, I was going home as usual that evening, and this is when Tom is talking about what happened that actual day. When I passed the Yule place, Miss Mayella were on the porch, like she said she were. Seemed real quiet-like, and I didn't quite know why. I was studying why, just passing by, when she says for me to come there and help her a minute. Well, I went inside the fence and looked around for some kindling to work on, but I didn't see none. She says, no, I got something for you to do in the house. The old door's off its hinges and fall's coming on pretty fast. I said, you got a screwdriver, Miss Mayella? She said she sure did. Well, I went up the steps and she motioned me to come inside, and I went in the front room and looked at the door. I said, Miss Mayella, this door looks all right. I pulled it back and forth, and those hinges was all right. Then she shut the door in my face. Mr. Finch, I was wondering why it was so quiet-like, and it come to me that there weren't a child on the place, not a one of 'em. And I said, Miss Mayella, where'd the children? Tom's black velvet skin had begun to shine, and he ran his hand over his face. I say, where are the children, he continued, and she says she was laughing, sort of. She says, they all gone to town to get ice cream, she says. Took me a slap year to save 7 nickels, but I done it. They all gone to town. Obviously, that's very, very suspicious, right, guys? Well, I said I best be going. I can't do nothing for her. And she says, oh, yes, I could. And I asked her what, and she says to just step on that chair yonder and get that box down from on top of the shift robe. Not the same shift robe you busted up, asked Atticus. The witness smiled. No, sir, another one, most as tall as a room. So I done what she told me, and I was reaching when the next thing I know she'd grabbed me around the legs, Mr. Finch. She scared me so bad I hopped down and turned the chair over. That was the only furniture disturbed in that room, Mr. Finch, when I left it. I swear for God. Answer the question, said Judge Taylor. 1/3 of the cigar had vanished, and this is where Atticus continues to ask what happened. Mr. Finch, I got down off of that chair and turned around, and she sort of jumped on me. Jumped on you violently? No, sir. She hugged me. She hugged me around the waist. And you can read more of exactly what else he says. Let's skip a little bit. This talks about why he ran. Mr. Linkdees rose from the audience and announced, I just want the whole lot of you to know one thing right now. That boy's worked for me 8 years, and I ain't had a speck or trouble out of him, not a speck. So Mr. Link Dees is the one that hired Tom, and he just kind of yells out from the crowd how innocent Tom is, which obviously Judge Taylor shuts down real quick. Next, we have this continuing. Robinson, you're pretty good at busting up shift robes and killing with one hand, aren't you? This is when Mr. Gilmer, Mr. Yule's lawyer, is asking questions now. And this is a kind of a sad part, I'll be honest with you. Yes, sir, I reckon so. Strong enough to choke the breath out of a woman and sling her to the floor? I never done that, sir, but you are strong enough to. I reckon so, sir. Had your eye on her a long time, hadn't you, boy? No, sir, I've never looked at her. And then he continues, you did all this chopping and work from sheer goodness, boy. Tried to help her, it says. Mr. Gilmer smiled grimly at the jury. You're a mighty good fellow, it seems. Did all this for not one penny? Yes, sir, I felt right sorry for her. She seemed to try more than the rest of 'em. You felt sorry for her? You felt sorry for her? Mr. Gilmer seemed ready to rise to the ceiling. The witness realized his mistake and shifted uncomfortably in the chair, but the damage was done. Below us, nobody liked Tom Robinson's answer. Mr. Gilmer paused a long time to let it sink in. Try to think of why you think the people in the stands would not like Tom Robinson feeling sorry for Mayella, when clearly she lives a very sorry life. I want you to think about that. Go ahead and read this on your own. Like I says before, it wasn't safe for any N-word to be in a fix like that. But you weren't in a fix. You testified that you were resisting Miss Yule. Were you so scared that she'd hurt you? You ran, a big buck like you? No, sir. I was scared I'd be in court just like I am now. Scared of arrest? Scared you have to face up to what you did? No, sir. Scared I have to face up to what I didn't do. Wow, what a powerful moment in that chapter. And I believe we end it there. All right, let's go to 20. And we have 2 more chapters. Okay, so Dolphus Raymond, who reveals the secret behind his brown bag and his drinking. So, like I said, Dolphus Raymond was a character that we were introduced to. This is going to be a very, very, very short chapter, okay? So we're going to kind of skip through. Basically, for the sake of time, because I only have 15 minutes, this part, it's kind of odd. The kids go out to him, and Mr. Raymond offers Dill some of his drink, which we think is alcohol, but it actually is Coca-Cola. All right. And the reason why he drinks it is this. That ain't honest, Mr. Raymond. Making yourself out badder than you are already. So the kids are like, why are you pretending you're drunk? And this is why he says what he says. It ain't honest, but it's mighty helpful to folks. Secretly, Miss Finch, I'm not much of a drinker, but you see, they could never understand that I live like I do because that's the way I want to live. Here's the question about why he drinks. Guys, he wants to live a life where he is either interacting or engaged in the African American community as a white man, but he can't because it's immoral in this society, which is obviously wrong. We all know we shouldn't be discriminatory, but that's his way of getting out of the norms of society, is by pretending he is the town drunk. So this kind of shows how racist this town is. So now the kids go back to Atticus's speech. Atticus was halfway through his speech to the jury. He had evidently pulled some papers from his briefcase that rested beside his chair because they were on his table. Tom Robinson was toying with them. We're going to skip a big chunk of his speech. You will read this on your own. He says some very powerful things. And we'll pick it up here. A court is only as sound as its jury, and a jury is only as sound as the men who make it up. I am confident that you gentlemen will review without passion the evidence that you have heard, come to a decision, restore this defendant to his family. In the name of God, do your duty. And then they even hear him say, in the name of God, believe him, meaning Tom Robinson. So chapter 21, last one. Calpurnia freaks out because she doesn't know where the kids went. So she tells Atticus that the kids are missing, but they are found to be upstairs in the colored balcony. And then we find out Tom Robinson's jury decision. So we're going to push forward. I know where they are, Atticus, Mr. Underwood spoke up. They're right up yonder in the colored balcony. Been there since precisely 1:18 p.m. And instead of Atticus getting upset, he's just more so quiet because right now the court's making decisions. This is a long chapter that we're kind of skipping because this is just basically what they do prior to the decision being made. But Mr. Tate said that this court will come to order, in a voice that rang with authority, and the heads below us jerked up. Mr. Tate left the room and returned with Tom Robinson. He steered Tom to his place beside Atticus and stood there. Judge Taylor had roused himself to sudden alertness and was sitting up straight, looking at the empty jury box. A jury never looks at a defendant it has convicted, and when the jury came in, not one of them looked at Tom Robinson. The foreman handed a piece of paper to Mr. Tate, who handed it to the clerk, who handed it to the judge. I shut my eyes. Judge Taylor was polling the jury. Guilty, 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 guilty. I peeked at Jem. His hands were white from gripping the balcony rail, and his shoulders jerked as if each guilty was a separate stab between them. Judge Taylor was saying something. His gavel was in his fist, but he wasn't using it. Dimly, I saw Atticus pushing papers from the table into his briefcase. He snapped it shut, went to the court reporter and said something, nodded to Mr. Gomer, and then went to Tom Robinson and whispered something to him. Atticus put his hand on Tom's shoulder as he whispered. Atticus took his coat off the back of his chair and pulled it over his shoulder. And this is what you can read at the very end of what happens when he walks through the crowd. It's very connected to the movie as well. And that's the end of chapter 21. All right, guys, please try to keep up on these reading summaries. I promise you, if you work hard this week, you get to relax for Thanksgiving weekend. All right, thank you. And don't forget to answer the questions. Please know that the last 2 questions at the end of the homework is an opinion, so you do not need textual evidence, okay? Thank you and have a great night.